Okay, dokie.
Yeah.
We are back and better than ever. We took a 2-week break for Christmas and New Year, and we weren't live streaming during that time. You and I were with family. I went on a little beach holiday. You obviously moved house as well, so it's our first stream of the 2024 year, and we are very excited to be here with you guys. So thanks for joining us. Anything you want to say before we get into the old grind? The grind machine starts churning again. By the way, we have a countdown. Daniel Macy, our resident countdown expert, 107 days until the NFL draft. 107.
Just welcome back, fam.
Yeah,
we're back. We better. We're gonna push out as much content, better content than ever. I'm excited for this year. So that's it, really.
that is it. We see you guys in the chat. Pierce says McMillan proved to be a good get for NFL teams. I'm telling y'all, stop sleeping on my guy Jalen. Love to see it. What's up, Lost? What's up, Styles? Welcome in. Waffle Houser says, so happy to finally be a Flock member, even though I didn't realize the promo code I used was exclusive for each. Oh, that's okay. If you use the promo code LAND, we will benefit from it, but we appreciate everyone on the website. What's up, Lucas? What's up, The Roll? What's up, Sparrow? Sparrow says, I just became a Flock member. How do I get access to everything? Well, why don't we just tell people that just before we get into the mock? It seems to be there's a couple questions there. If you guys want access to our 2024 rookie report and rankings, there is a link in the chat that I just posted. That link, if you use our promo code LAND and you sign up to the Mother Flocker tier, you will have access to our version 1 of our 2024 rookie report. You know, you go onto the website, and again, only Mother Flocker members will be able to see this, but under the posts, you'll see a post from us here, 2024 DynastyLand Rookie Report. You click on that, and this is version 1, by the way, guys. Version 1 was released on December 28th. Version 2 will be released on February 1st, so a whole new updates to version 2 that we're very excited to release, but you can obviously see the table of index, context, and information. We've got our rankings there. We've got reports for a lot of these players. So go check that out. Again, use the promo code LAND when you sign up to get 30% off. And obviously that supports us when you decide to use that promo code. But if anyone wants access to that, that is how you access it. Check out the link in the chat. Not only do you get that, by the way, you also get a Dynasty team review, which we're going to start doing again this Sunday night. We're going to be live streaming, helping people create some great Dynasty teams. You get access to our weekly Dynasty trade show. You get access to every article on the website, the Dynasty trade calculator on the website. I mean, there is so much over there for you guys to access, as well as the fantasy hotline, which is a direct DM to us for advice and for conversations. Shout out to everybody who has been signing up. What's up, Callum? Welcome in. What's up, BX? Welcome in. What's up, Andrew? Welcome in. All right, so Badaki, we are going to do a 2024 Superflex rookie draft. If people would like to join this draft, how can they go about doing so?
All right, guys. 2024 is here in the exact same way as 2023. All you have to do is join our Discord, a link in the description below, and link should be going in the chat here in a second. Once you join our Discord, all you have to do is go to the Fantasyland tab on the left with the orange footballs, and then click on content releases. That's exactly where I'll be posting a link every single time for the rest of this year, and maybe even into 2025. For every single link is going to be going here in content releases. Okay, so once again, join our Discord, the Fantasyland tab to the left with the orange footballs, content releases, and that's exactly where I'll be posting the link to the mock draft. It is first come, first serve. I think now that we're in the new year, now that Dynasty football is full steam ahead, essentially, it's going to be a little bit tougher to get in some of these guys, so you have to be on your A game. So I'll send that message or that link to join this Discord, or to this live stream, excuse me, right now. Give me a second. I need to make sure it's the right one. Okay.
So Badaki's going to send that link out. It'll be first come, first serve. Go ahead and send that out now. While people are joining, we are using a mock draft from drafttech.com. Now, guys, The draft order was just kind of solidified for the top 16 recently. So top 18, I think. So just keep in mind that as we get, you know, a couple weeks from now, these mocks will be hopefully better and better and better. But these are the landing spots that we're using today from Draft Tech. So let's get on the same page for today's exercise. This is the world that we are living in, guys, okay? Obviously, we didn't make this mock, but this is the world that we are living in today for today's exercise. It's all about having fun and seeing how things could pan out. But Caleb Williams goes 1 to the Bears. Drake May goes to the Commanders at 2. Jaden Daniels to the Patriots at 3. Marvin Harrison goes to the Cardinals at 4. Then we see Brock Bowers to the Chargers. Malik Neighbors to the Titans. J.J. McCarthy to the Falcons. That's going to be an interesting conversation. I'll wait until someone drafts him. Michael Penix to the Vikings. Again, another very interesting conversation to be had. Bo Nix goes to the Raiders. So we have 5 quarterbacks in the first 13 picks. Wait, is that 6?
Be careful.
That's
everyone.
That's 6 quarterbacks in the first 13 picks. Wow, if it actually went like this, that would be crazy. Rome Odunze goes to the Colts at pick 15. I think he fell a little too far, in my personal opinion. And then Jatavion Sanders ends up in the first round to the Bengals. That is awesome. We love him. He's such a great athlete. Keon Coleman to my Chiefs. Oh, okay. Amika Egbuka to the Texans. Troy Franklin to the Bills. And on to the second round where we see, man, they are not loving wide receivers in this, are they? That's strange. I'm not sure if Draft Tech knows how good this wide receiver class is. Brian Thomas goes to the Falcons. Pick 43. Jaheim Bell to the Colts. Okay. Xavier Legette to the Jags. Adonai Mitchell to the Bengals. Great spot for him. Travion Henderson to the Eagles. Trey Benson to the Packers. Quinn Ewers. Okay, so Quinn's in the mock. We don't know if he's declaring or not. He goes to the Steelers. Xavier Worthy to the Eagles. Devontae Walker to the Browns. Ladd McConkey, my guy, to the Lions. Bucky Irving goes to the Ravens. And this is the second round, right? Okay, so we got quite a few running backs in the second round. That's going to make things very, very interesting. On to round 3, where we see Blake Corum to the Chargers. That's hot. Jalen Polk to the Jets. Brendan Rice to the Bears. Let's see. Jacob Cohen to the Broncos. What else? Jonathan Brooks. Hell yeah. Oh, this is hot. To the Cowboys. Cade Stover to the Commanders. By the way, Jonathan Brooks has officially declared, so we will see Jonathan Brooks drafted this year. That's exciting. Ricky Pearsall to the Niners. Will Shipley as well to the Niners. We get on to round 4, where we see Audric Estime to the Patriots. Johnny Wilson to the Chargers. Do they need another tall guy who doesn't catch the ball? I don't know. Braylon Allen to the Bengals. Michael Pratt to the Seahawks. Malachi Corley to the Packers. Roman Wilson to the Bucks. Brevin Spann. Donovan Edwards to the Bills. How about Donnie Edwards coming alive? Jalen McMillan to the Cardinals. Jermaine Burton to the Ravens. Round 5. Well, this will be the last one that we do. I'm just going to look through. I'm not going to name all these names. But if you guys want to look at round 5, 6, 7, then you have access to it. Cameron Ward to the Rams. That's definitely interesting. Marshawn Lloyd to the Lions. That sucks to see him buried there. But Taj Washington to the Chiefs. You know, the reality is, guys, that not everyone's going to get exact landing spots that we want. But anyway, without further ado, we are going to go ahead and start our first 2024, the year 2024 Dynasty Rookie Superflex Draft. This is PPR. It is not tight end premium. All you need to do if you're drafting with us is draft a kicker and then put in the chat who you'd like to select, and I'll work my magic to get that player on the board for you. But D-Dog is at the 101 here, Badaki. So let's see what D-Dog is cooking up here with the 101. D-Dog takes Caleb Williams. No surprise there.
No surprise.
So Caleb Williams ends up with the Chicago Bears in this mock draft. Badaki, if you were to put a percentage on Justin Fields being the quarterback in Chicago in 2024, what percentage would you put on that, knowing they have the number 1 pick?
I would say it's 5% chance.
Okay.
I don't think he's on this team, and that's me being gracious, giving him 5%, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, Caleb Williams to the Bears here, no doubt. Lock it in.
Okay.
Write it in pen.
As someone who is a Commanders and Chiefs fan, for my Commanders, I would really like for the Bears to stick with Justin Fields. I'd love to land Caleb Williams, but we'll see. I mean, he's a DC
I think if
guy.
that's the case,
Obviously, I love the player as well. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think if they are going to stick with Justin Fields, I think they trade back. They get a haul. I think that is the best possible scenario. Personally, you get what, 2 first-round, 3 first-round picks from another team. You keep Justin Fields. You probably move back within the top 8 picks, and you still have an opportunity to get a Malik Neighbors, a Brock Bowers,
yeah,
the whole shebang.
I hear you. Yeah, let's see. I mean, I would obviously love Caleb Williams in Washington, but he goes to the Bears. The great news is that they have, they've drafted offensive tackle last year. They have DJ Moore, and he's looked very good. Who knows what they can do in free agency, but it's not like Caleb Williams is going to the 2022 version of the Chicago Bears. Like, this team is improved defensively. They have real weapons, so that is something to absolutely consider. But with the second overall pick, we've got Mike Chapsky in the chat, and Mike Chapsky decides to take a wide receiver, the first one off the board. No surprise, we've got Marvin Harrison Jr. coming off the board here. He is an Arizona Cardinal in this mock draft. He links up with Kyler Murray. Hey, shout out to all the people who bought Kyler Murray last offseason with me. We got some Kyler Murray stock. We're feeling pretty damn good about it at this point. And he gets to link up with Kyler, a great quarterback to be throwing him the ball. We saw how successful DeAndre Hopkins was on that team with Kyler Murray. I just feel like that's the kind of role that Marvin steps straight into. 8 to 10 targets a game. There really isn't a true weakness in Marvin's game. He's not the most dynamic player after the catch, but you don't always have to be successful in the NFL. But I mean, generational prospect. People hate the word generational, but it's true. He is a generational prospect.
Yeah.
So he goes off the board at the 102 to the Cardinals. Badaki.
Yeah, love this pick. Linking up with the cockroach himself and Kyler Murray. I mean, I said this in our video that we just released earlier today for you guys. Elite quarterback for fantasy and elite generational, like Zach said, wide receiver linking up here. Does Hollywood Brown stay? He probably does. You have Trey McBride, ascending to a whole nother level at the tight end position. So this is just another massive, foundational piece for this Arizona Cardinals team.
Agreed. And who knows what they do with the second pick in the first round too. I mean, they've
wild.
got a chance to build a real nice squad around Kyler. And
imagine they get Marvin
great.
Harrison. They get Marvin Harrison and, I mean, I don't know, another wide receiver just for the
That
Wolves.
would be crazy. But they have so many needs,
Yeah,
like,
they do.
Defensive
Player, I would think.
At the 103, Drake May comes off the board. He was drafted to the Washington Commanders. You and I talked about this in today's video that we released, but the Commanders is actually one of the more attractive landing spots we've seen for one of these quarterbacks in a long time. I mean, you think about the teams are at the top of the board. There is typically not much at all around these quarterbacks, right? We have a quarterback going to New England. Who is he going to throw the ball to, right? Caleb Williams has an advantage because he's got DJ Moore on his team. Drake May goes to Washington, and yes, they need to address their offensive line, but the good news is they got a whole new GM coming in, a whole new head coach that's going to be built around this guy, and they've got Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. We'll see what happens with Curtis Samuel, but some pretty good weapons to throw the ball to there in Washington. And we saw Sam Howell as a top 10 fantasy quarterback before he kind of had his demise, if you will, but he was putting up some real numbers in Superflex leagues. So Drake May is just an absolute elevated version by far of that, and that's an exciting player there, a Justin Herbert-esque type of player. In my opinion, that's his ceiling comp heading to Washington. I'd be excited about that.
Yeah, and the foundation, once again, the two teams here that have good foundations, in my opinion, are the Bears, who already have DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. Obviously, you have Roscoe. Does he ascend defensive pieces? And then you have the Washington Commanders, who you may have traded away your top defensive players, and you definitely need an offensive line, but the weapons around him with Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, that is already a good 3 three key pieces on the offensive side of the ball that you have. Some quarterbacks go into a team
Yeah.
and they have nobody, which is probably like the somebody who we're going to talk about in the next pick, I would assume,
Yeah.
depending on
We'll
who
see
Daniel
what
Macy
Macy
picks.
does here. You know,
Yeah.
it is interesting because there's a couple receiving rooms that I'm in on buying this offseason. Falcons come to mind instantly. I mean, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, you know, even Bijan Robinson. It's crazy that you can actually buy Bijan Robinson right now, but it feels actually attainable to buy him. Falcons are up there with coaching change. Definitely going to be a quarterback change. That's undeniable. Is it the draft? Is it free agency? Who knows? We've heard talks about Kirk Cousins. That would be, you guys, if Kirk Cousins was a Falcon, we might have a top 5 Kyle Pitts year and a top 12 Drake London year. Like, that is within the realm of possibilities. That would be crazy. The other one is the Washington wide receiver room. Dotson, super cheap right now. We know he's a good player, just wasn't utilized well. No. And if Curtis Samuel moves on, that gives you the confidence to buy him. And you're not expecting him to be a top 15 guy, but maybe a flex at some point. I think Terry could have his best year in the next couple of years, potentially. But anyway, at the 104, we do see Jaden Daniels. Y'all know I love me some Jaden Daniels. He comes off the board here, and he goes to the New England Patriots. Remember, guys, that was the 4th overall pick. Is that right, Badaki?
The third overall pick in the NFL draft. The 4th overall pick in here, this rookie mock.
So Jaden Daniels, a player that you guys know I love. I've talked about him. You know, I've talked him up the entire offseason. When we first started our scouting process, I couldn't fathom why he was being mocked in the 2nd and 3rd round. And at that time, I said, I don't see how he gets out of the top 10. Every mock you now see, he's well within the top 10. But he had the best year of any college football player, period. He had the best year, in my opinion. Had the 2nd best PFF passing grade at 91.9, the number 1 NFL passer rating, completed 71% of his passes in the SEC, threw 29 big-time throws, which was 3rd best in the nation, 40 touchdowns, over 1,000 rushing yards. Dude is a true dual threat. I see RG3, a less physical Jalen Hurts, a little Deshaun Watson. I love me some Jaden Daniels. And by the way, the best part of his game, which doesn't get talked about enough, is that he is someone who takes care of the ball. He's not like this dual threat athlete that you have to be worried about constantly turning the ball over. The guy threw 4 interceptions and won the Heisman while throwing 40 touchdowns. He is a great quarterback in all sense of the word. He's a great athlete as well. So I love the pick there at the 104. I think it's a great move for the Patriots to kind of reset.
Yeah, and you know, this is kind of the play that I was talking about. Okay, we're gonna wait. We're gonna see what this offense, this new head coach, according to all reports, maybe Bill Belichick is going to leave. What are they going to bring in? Who are they going to bring in to help him? Obviously, we've seen the likes of Demario Douglas kind of having and shine. He could be somebody that could be a really good buy low. You might see him in future videos here, no, without a doubt. But who else do they bring in for Jaden Daniels?
Yeah. Did they draft anyone in this mock?
I don't think so. I was trying to look ahead. I couldn't find anyone. Maybe I skipped through it. But you know, you think of somebody that can be a free agent, someone like a T. Higgins. Do they bring in a T. Higgins to link up with Jaden Daniels? Do they bring in somebody, a Hollywood Brown, who potentially walks away from the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, dude, I was looking at free agency this year. It is very different to last year. Like
100%.
There's some very, very appealing free agents in 2024.
Exactly. And so, like, look, it may seem daunting at first, but you would hope and expect that this team, the New England Patriots, does, you know, spend a little bit more money in free agency at the, you know, skill position to get somebody. You have Ramondre Stevenson, who's also been pretty good at the run game, who's been in fantasy relevancy. So maybe not this year, but in the past.
They did draft Audric Estime, which, again, no disrespect to him, you had a lot of wide receivers you could have drafted. You took Estime in the 4th? Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. We'll wait and see what happens with the Patriots. But once again, a whole new regime. There could be a whole new head coach, a whole new offensive coordinator, the whole shebang with a new quarterback, which could be very exciting.
Yes, I agree. All right, so at the 105, no surprise. Where did he go again, Badaki? Where did Malik Neighbors go in this mock?
He went to the Tennessee Titans with the
Okay.
7th overall pick.
So not a sexy landing spot. This is certainly not, the Chargers landing spot. It's not linking up with Kyler Murray. I don't even think this is as sexy as going to New York and figuring things out with Daniel Jones, right? But the good news is I have no doubts that he would be the best talent on that team. I don't want to say, I think he would probably be the most talented on that player, most talented player on that team from day one. Truly. And maybe I'm too high on Malik Neighbors when I say that. Offensively, I can feel confident in saying that. I don't think Derrick Henry would be back. I think he would be the number one weapon. They would build their offense around him. And the good news is there will be a brand new coach. That's not to say that Mike Vrabel is not a good coach, but he was kind of like very stuck in like a certain system. Like, we're going to play great defense. We're going to pound the rock. And
yeah, he was a defensive coordinator.
It's
like,
going to be different now. So that's good.
Bad.
There's a good picture you could paint there for Malik. I love 100%. Malik Neighbors for sure.
I would say this as well. If I'm not mistaken, the Titans do have a out on DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not sure what that looks like. I'm not sure what that cap hit actually
I think
is.
they'll keep him though.
But if it's not significant and you get a Malik Neighbors, why pay DeAndre Hopkins? Let's
I think
take
just
the
to
hit
give
now
Will Levis every
and get him
option
off.
to grow. I don't think Hopkins
Maybe.
will move on. After the year he had, that was pretty impressive at 31 years old.
He has a $7.8 million dead cap hit, which is not bad if you think about all the other cap hits, other teams
you're
have
right.
taken.
It's not
But,
bad. I would just be surprised if they ended up moving on from him. But look, obviously there are more ideal landing spots, but in this scenario for Malik Neighbors, I think I would just trust the talent. I think he's a great pick there at the 105. And unfortunately for Treylon Burks, rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace. All right. So at this point, we have 3 quarterbacks off the board, 2 wide receivers. And honestly, I need to re-look at this mock draft because I know who would be next in my rankings. But I don't really love Adunze's landing spot, to be honest with you. I guess you're assuming that Pittman moves on there.
He's also a free agent. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not a very big JJ McCarthy guy, but he goes to the Falcons here, and he's drafted in the top 10. I mean, that's crazy to me. And I'll wait to have in-depth conversations about these quarterbacks in a little bit here. All right, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to take the next best player on my board. Do they have a reasoning for taking Odunze here? They said due to prospect unpredictability. There's no comments. Oh, so they Draft Tech drafted Rome Odunze to the Colts and said, we're actually not going to take any comments on why we did this. Do you see that in the mock?
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to take Rome and we're not going to tell you at all why we did it.
Well, we can tell you why he did it because Michael Pittman moved. In this world, Michael Pittman is no longer on this team.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I would say.
Let's roll with that. So Michael Pittman Jr. is no longer a Colt. I guess they decided that they didn't want to pay him. And now with Anthony Richardson stepping in to be the starter again this year, Rome Odunze probably becomes his number 1 option from day one. I'll take Rome Odunze here at the 106. A couple of options I really could have gone there. I'll hold my hand up and say I was not in on Michael Pittman before the year. Before the 2023 season, 2024 season, this last year, I was not in on Michael Pittman. I'll have to hold my hands up and say I was wrong. I did not anticipate the offense looking the way that it did. And to be fair, my biggest concern was Anthony Richardson. Could he develop into being a consistent, accurate passer? We saw the athleticism for Anthony, but we did not. We never saw him take the steps to become an accurate passer. And it's not his fault because he got injured so early into the year. So now we're going into 2024-2025 season with still some of the same question marks around A-Rich and how he can complement or support a fantasy weapon. Obviously, the good news is Michael Pittman had some really good games while Richardson was healthy. But I'll take Odunze there. I'll just go best player available. That's a tough call for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely a tough call here, especially with all these quarterbacks who we like. But I think we still need to find a little bit more information about these guys, which is a little bit difficult. Which kind of makes my pick a little bit easier when it comes down to the 107 here. I could go with two different quarterbacks,
Yeah.
but I'm going to go with my next best available wide receiver.
Okay.
My wide receiver 4 in this class. He does link up back. He links back up with his old quarterback, and that is Emeka Ibuka.
Okay.
He does go with the 27th overall pick to the Houston Texans.
Yep.
That's exciting to me. You think of the connection that they already had. They already have. You think of him playing in the slot, because we've, done our research, and I've done my research, and now Tank Dell plays 70% out wide. Nico Collins out wide. Emeka Ibuka is a phenomenal slot wide receiver who is going to live there. Once again, has a connection. And let's be honest, CJ Stroud in his rookie year is an elite quarterback in the NFL already. So the longevity of that connection, I want that right now more than ever. There could have been another player I could have gone, but I like the wide receiver here.
I don't dislike the pick. I am a little bit surprised that with all these quarterbacks going in the top 13, none of them were chosen. There's also a tight end that I really like that would be ahead of Ibuka in my rankings, but I definitely get the rationale. I mean, we know how good CJ Stroud is. If Ibuka ends up being someone who's getting 6 to 8 targets on the Houston Texans offense from CJ Stroud, by the way, the quarterback that he played with in college, hey, that could be a steal right there.
Yep.
So at the 107, Ibuka goes off the board, and at the 108, K Legacy is going Michael Penix Jr. So I'm glad we finally get to talk about Michael Penix Jr. Where did he go again?
He went to the Vikings with the 11th overall pick.
Okay. So let's just start here. In today's exercise, we are living in the world that Michael Penix Jr. is a first-round pick, and he goes to the Vikings. So this draft, this position here makes sense. Let's also recognize, at least for me personally, I don't believe he ends up being a first-round pick. I think he's probably an early second, maybe into the first round if a team wants a 5th-year option. It's funny because the Texas game in the college football playoffs, you were like, oh my God. I mean, this is his CJ Stroud versus Georgia moment. But it almost felt like all that was unraveled in the national championship game. It's like all of the highs that you had for Michael Penix versus Texas, you saw all of the lows on the biggest possible stage versus probably one of the best defenses in college football. So it's tough because CJ did it versus the best college football defense that year, and that was his last game. He didn't go on to the next round. That was what was left in our minds. But now all these GMs, all these scouts, even fans, whether it's right or wrong, are going to be asking some questions like, okay, he really did not look good when any pressure was on him in the national championship game. The good news is he goes to the Minnesota Vikings. He gets to link up with Justin Jefferson. He gets to link up with Jordan Addison, with TJ Hawkinson. So, and he's a first-round pick here. So, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Do you think he ends up in the first round in real life?
I think he can if a team... I think he can.
Yeah.
And it's going to be to a team that maybe trades up into the second round, at the end of the second round type of scenario.
Second?
Sorry, end of the first.
Oh, okay.
Type of scenario. I've been saying this. He is an elite backup quarterback. You want somebody like a Michael Penix on your team when a Kirk Cousins, a Trevor Lawrence, a Joe Burrow goes down, because you know that not only for fantasy, but he can win you games. He has a great arm, and that's exactly what you want here in this offense. So I don't think he goes top 11, but I put him in the 19 to 19
Kenny
plus
Pickett
range.
Kenny Pickett range.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett range. That feels more comfortable.
Yeah, man. It was you and I were watching the national championship kind of together, but it was just hard to not recognize, it's like, this guy's losing millions of dollars in front of our eyes. Right.
If he would have won that Texas, if he would have lost that Texas game, that would have been, yeah, you're right. That would have been his CJ Stroud game. and be like, how is Michael Penix not a top 15 pick in the NFL draft?
Yeah.
But it didn't help when he played Michigan, unfortunately.
Okay, so at the 109, a player that I am on, I know this is not tight end premium, but I'm a little bit shocked that he's still available. That is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers comes off the board, and guys, he was the 5th overall pick in this draft. Even better, he is the future #1 weapon of Justin Herbert. I am personally a little bit shocked that he fell all the way here. Love this landing spot. I think there's a little bit of prospect fatigue with some of these names. Caleb Williams, people hate him. Some people hate him because he paints his nails. Something so simple like that. With Brock Bowers, people are now getting annoyed that he is being labeled the best prospect at the tight end position because we've had Kyle Pitts before. It's like people are finding new ways to get upset at these really exciting prospects. But don't get prospect fatigue with Brock Bowers. He is the best tight end in college football ever. In the 150 plus years of college football, there has never been a better tight end in college football than Brock Bowers. Now, will he translate to the NFL? I believe so. Of course, there's, you never know. Who knows? But it's a great landing spot. You don't have to worry about Kyle Pitts in Atlanta where it's like, Matt Ryan's moving on. What do we do? It's like, no, you have Justin Herbert there for the future. So tied to Justin Herbert. I love that pick there, even in a non-tight end premium, excuse me.
Yeah, look, it definitely makes sense, him going here. I've been thinking about this because maybe I'm somebody that has the fatigue, but I'm not saying what are the chances that he comes into this offense and has like a Sam Laporta year?
I think very high.
It's very high. Okay.
Very high.
I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying
he would step into that offense today and be the first or second option depending on Keenan Allen's health.
That's what I was gonna say. If Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen were 100% healthy week 1, do you still have that same outlook?
I have no doubt that if both of those players were healthy and on the roster by the end of the 2024 season, Brock Bowers would be, if not the first, the second option on that offense.
Right. I'm not knocking Brock Bowers. I'm just thinking I'm trying to lower my expectation a little bit for year 1 with the thought process of Keenan Allen being there and Mike Williams. Because I was really high on someone like a Sam Laporta because of everyone not being there at the time with all the injuries or whatever.
They weren't really there this last year, were they? I mean, Keenan was for a good portion, but Mike wasn't there. Quentin didn't really show up and establish himself. Even the likes of Josh Palmer. And you got to keep in mind, a guy who we are used to getting 6 to 7 targets a game in Austin Eckler will no longer be on this team either. So there's going to be targets to go around, and I just think the cream rises to the top. That is Brock Bowers. He's the cream de la creme. At the 110, we see Troy Franklin come off the board. He goes to the Bills at the end of the first round. We do love us some Troy Franklin. I've tagged him Frozone, and that's just because he freezes DBs off the line of scrimmage. He's got a very special ability to freeze a DB and then use that athleticism, use that speed to get into the second level of his route. But he joins the Bills. I'm not going to say this is a Gabe Davis replacement because they're not anywhere near the same player. But to me, this is more of like we're thinking about our future, and Troy Franklin's a big part of that future. So makes sense. Tied to Josh Allen, a player that we like. See a little Jamison Williams, a little Devonta Smith, a little, Deshaun Jackson to Troy Franklin's game.
Yeah, I completely agree. He can do what Gabe Davis does. I would say he's a better route runner.
Oh yeah,
easily. He can stretch the field.
Like
he
today,
can play the slot. Yeah,
he's
100%.
a better route runner today.
100%. He can stretch the field. He can play the slot. He can be a yards after the catch type of wide receiver that technically Gabe Davis really isn't. He's more of a big body, run down the field type of guy. So he brings versatility to this offense. Excuse me, to this offense, which is exciting for someone like a Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm. I agree. At the 111, we see a quarterback go off the board. And like, to be fair, I believe that if this draft is really what happened in real life, the mock draft we're using, I do not think these quarterbacks would still be on the board. if these quarterbacks got top 12 draft capital in the first round, I think these quarterbacks would have gone before the wide receivers personally. And I know I'm a little bit hypocritical because I took Rome Odunze. So I could be a part of the problem. I think we're all just like, no, this is not going to happen. So I'm not going to draft the player. But here at the 111, this is where we see JJ McCarthy coming off the board. He went to the Falcons with the 8th overall pick. If JJ McCarthy is a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, we have got to probably take him much higher than the 111. But again, it speaks to the strength of this class. It's a offensive heavy class. But JJ as a player, I tweeted this out yesterday, and I've been talking about him a lot over on Twitter. There's not a player in this class that I have more question marks on than JJ McCarthy. And I was hoping and believing that the college football playoffs would help me answer some of those questions. But we just watched a national championship game where JJ McCarthy threw the ball 18 times and won the national championship. I think he had 13 completions, if I'm not mistaken. I think he threw for like 120 yards or something, right? And all these questions that I had was, who is JJ McCarthy a prospect, not just within this system? We know he's got the intangibles. He's got a great arm. He's a super good athlete. He's got the size. But can he be the reason that his team is specifically winning games? We just saw that team rush for over 220 yards. Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, both had over 100 yards, well over 100 yards. And Michigan's defense dominated. That was a formula for JJ McCarthy's success. Don't make mistakes, which he did make mistakes, by the way. He made quite a few mistakes in that game. Don't make mistakes. Rely on your defense. Hand the ball off. Now, that is not to take away of what he could be in the NFL. But there are still all the same question marks after the college football playoffs. I felt like he was never put in a position where he really had to take over, where they were down multiple scores and it's like, JJ, we need you to throw the ball. We need you to take over. And I still have all the same question marks, man.
Well, I would say this personally. If he goes to Atlanta Falcons, I think he will be in the exact same position that he was in Michigan because of the talent that he has around him. He has one of the best running backs in the NFL. Yeah, you have Kyle Pitts and Drake London. But at the same time, he again doesn't have to do anything in this offense. He is just going to be the game manager. You think of how Desmond Ridder only threw the ball, probably 12 to 18 times in the first 4 or 5 games of the season until they really unleashed him. Like, but when does it switch in the NFL for him?
To be fair, though, I think all of us for the last couple of years have recognized, like, this offense is good, but it doesn't make sense when you're down. There's been so many games where the Falcons have been down and they are just running the ball relentlessly. And we're like, guys, there's like 8 minutes left and you're down 2 touchdowns. Are you sure you want to run the ball 7 times in a row? So they might have to change. New coach might bring a new identity,
100%.
But we still have
100%.
the same question marks around JJ. So it's tough, man. It is very, very difficult to evaluate a guy like JJ. Has all the intangibles. Yeah. It's like, can it all come together consistently? We still don't know the answer. But it is the most difficult position to evaluate anyway. At the 112, one of your favorite players, I love him too. He's rising up both of our rankings. That is Bo Nix. He comes off the board. Anything you want to say about Bo here?
This is, once again, an exciting prospect going to a very exciting team. In my opinion, you think of this whole new head coach and regime, the new GM, that they're going to come hopefully a better foundation.
Playing with Devontae Adams.
Exactly. Playing with Devontae Adams. You just draft Michael Mayer this past year. Does Josh Jacobs stays? Maybe he does get that contract extension finally or gets tagged again, whatever that looks like. Jacoby Myers as well. Like, the weapons are there for Bo Nix. He has the ability to lead this team, not to a Super Bowl, but like just to win some games. Right? And that's exactly what's exciting with Bo Nix here. 6'2", 200 plus pounds. A guy that's very accurate and can move the ball down the field, in my opinion, which is really exciting with Bo Nix. One of the biggest things I've been saying all offseason since I've been scouting him, he is somebody that can rise his stock to be a top 8 pick or he can go in the middle of the second rounds. Like, that's how wide his range still is currently. But as a quarterback, and from what I've seen and scouted so far, he is my number 4 quarterback behind obviously Caleb, Drake, and Jaden Daniels, over Michael Penix, over JJ McCarthy. Bo Nix is my QB4 as we go into the season, or to the offseason.
Yeah, he'd be my QB4 as well. I would prefer him over Penix. And it's not by much, but, you know, Michael Penix is a very accurate quarterback. I would argue that Bo Nix is more accurate. Penix probably has a better deep ball, but if you're going to run an offense over the middle of the field, easy dump and, you know, it's almost like, can the Raiders duplicate what Brock Purdy did for the San Francisco 49ers? Obviously, you don't have the same coach. You don't have the same weapons. But Bo Nix, to me, like Brock Bowers Brock Purdy is a reasonable outcome. A more accurate Baker Mayfield, potentially Russell Wilson before he kind of fell off. Those are the kind of players I think Bo Nix could become. He's great under pressure, completed 78% of his passes. A lot of that had to do with the system that he was in. I mean, there was a lot of dink and dunks to, you know, really special athletes in Oregon this year. But he ran the offense well. He's got a very high IQ. I mean, he was running the offense independently at times in Oregon. In fact, most of the time he was. Only had 3 turnover-worthy plays. Guys, the amount of times that Bo Nix threw the ball, this doesn't include Pac-12 championship, by the way. This is right before that is where I took these stats. But 3 turnover-worthy plays. He had a turnover-worthy play percentage of 0.7%, which was the best in the nation. So this is a point guard plus. Distribute it to Adams. Get it out to Jacoby Myers. Get it to your playmakers. And then also, we've got the ability on the goal line to rush for some touchdowns as well. We've got that big body. So, yeah, I like the Bo Nix pick there. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, completely agree.
So to recap the first round, Caleb Williams with the Bears at the 101, Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals. We've got Drake May to the Commanders, Jaden Daniels to the Patriots, Malik Neighbors is a Titan, Roma Dunze is a Colt, Amika Egbuka is a Texan, Michael Penix Jr. goes to the Vikings in the first, Bowers to the Chargers, Troy Franklin went to the Bills in the first round, JJ to the Falcons in the first, and Bo Nix to the Raiders in the first. We're now going to head into the second round, but everyone who is watching, over 160 of you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. This is our first live stream of the 2024 year. Do us a massive favor. Go ahead and smash that like button. We absolutely, with the numbers in the stream right now, should be able to hit 100 likes with your help. We're currently at 64, so math would say we are 36 likes away from 100. Do us a favor, everyone. Go ahead and smash that like button. By the way, we are also on the road to 10K subscribers.
Let's go.
And we are about 125 subscribers away from 10K. That's very exciting as well. So do us a favor, smash the like button, and let's get into the second round. Who is the 201 there, Badaki?
201, Adonai Mitchell going to the Cincinnati Bengals. In the second round here, the 49th pick in the second round, Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, which is very interesting because you think of the T. Higgins. If I'm not mistaken, we've I'm not saying we compared him to, but he is somebody, I would say, a discount T. Higgins. He does have that height, that size, that width, that speed, that can be the field stretcher down the field for someone like a Joe Burrow. So that's really exciting. And this, you think of maybe T. Higgins no longer being on this team for the Bengals, and someone like an Adonai Mitchell, who has been rising up in my rankings as well, to really bring in something different to this offense for the Cincinnati Bengals.
I think somewhere between T. Higgins, George Pickens, like the ceiling is like a DeAndre Hopkins. I've heard some people say,
mix there.
Some people have said Devontae Adams. I'm not sure I could go there. I'm not sure I see that ceiling, but again, when Devontae Adams entered the league, people didn't think he would be Devontae Adams either, right? What I will say is Adonai Mitchell, I don't think he falls this far in the draft. What was it, pick 49?
Yeah, 49.
I don't see him getting out of the top 40. He might be a first-round pick. We'll have to wait and see. He is a limited yak player, but he's a very good route runner, great hands, ridiculously strong hands, and he's a player that could be an alpha on the outside. So I like the pick there of Adonai Mitchell. What was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to say, but I like the pick. I like Adonai Mitchell there.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Okay, at the 202, the first running back comes off the board. Now, Badaki,
Okay.
would you have taken a running back yet, given the options? Because every time we release a video, Badaki, everyone's in the comment section saying there's no way running back should have gone this late. We released a video this morning. We didn't take a running back until the 207. That was because of the mock draft that we used. To be fair, only had one running back in the first 3 rounds. Today's mock draft's a little bit different. We have quite a few guys in the second. Looking at your rankings, looking at this mock draft that we're using, would you have taken a running back yet off the board?
I still would have taken a wide receiver.
Okay.
That is available. Don't love the landing spot.
Sure.
But I still would have taken the wide receiver because I like the talent.
Okay.
I would say this could be the range for this mock draft specifically,
Sure.
where you could truly invest in a running back if you wanted to, based off the landing spot, because it's favorable for Trey Benson here. Absolutely. At the 202. He does go to the Green Bay Packers.
Love me some Trey Benson.
And we've seen, first of all, Jordan Loves is ascending, which is really exciting with all those weapons and Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, and it kind of moves on with Aaron Jones with no longer potentially being on this team, which is also very exciting. With Trey Benson, excuse me.
Yeah.
I think someone's at the door, so
okay.
Give me a second.
Yeah, Trey Benson goes at the 202. He's the first running back off the board. As of today, he is my RB1 in the class. Obviously, combine, draft capital, all that could change. I've had a bit of pushback on that, but hopefully I've explained well in our videos as to why he's my RB1. And also, I think the RB1 in this year more than any other year. I remember in Breece Hall's class, it was very clearly Breece Hall for me, and Bijan, obviously it was Bijan for me. I think this class, like Travis Etienne was the year before, he was very clearly my RB1. In this class, more than any, RB1 is wide open. I love Trey Benson. That's where he currently is for me. I think he fits this offense like a glove. I mean, Aaron Jones has not been healthy for most of the year, and A.J. Dillon is just A.J. Dillon can't give you what Trey Benson can give you. A.J. Dillon, nope, he's not the next coming of Derrick Henry like some people were predicting a couple years ago. He's just an okay reliever back that can get those hard yards. He's not a elite receiving threat out of the backfield or anything, but I love me some Trey Benson. He's going to join an ascending offense with a very exciting quarterback. Trey reminds me a ton of David Montgomery, Javonte Williams with his break tackle ability, and Rashad Penny. I think the Packers are getting one hell of a player who has some great vision, great long run speed, really strong through contact. He's a good pass catcher. He just wasn't given many opportunities, but I love Trey Benson. I think it's an exciting landing spot for him as well. At the 203, though, we get Brian Thomas Jr. off the board. Now, I need to check where he went in this mock draft because I cannot keep up. Where did Brian Thomas Jr. go? Surely he went in the first round, right? They didn't put him in the first round? Okay, where did he go then? Let me check the second round here. They put Brian Thomas Jr. in the second round to the Falcons. That is tough to come to grips with. I'm not going to lie. That is tough to come to grips with. I did not realize that was his landing spot. I love Brian Thomas, but you have got already so many good receiving threats. You've got Drake London. You've got Kyle Pitts. You got Bijan Robinson, who's probably going to average 6 targets a game moving forward. I mean, that is a tough spot for Brian Thomas. There's a couple landing spots that I really don't like for receivers. I've talked about the Steelers. That's definitely one of them. I think the Falcons are up there too, just because of the amount of weapons that are already in Atlanta. But we do love Brian Thomas, the player. When you talk about size, speed, athletes, he is one of the best in this class. So he goes off the board at the 203. Let's see what Macy's going to do here at the 204. But that's tough, man. That's tough thinking about competing with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson for targets. That's a tough landing spot. But, Brian Thomas, very talented player, so anything is possible. All right, Travion Henderson comes off the board. Now, a couple months ago, we were mocking Travion Henderson in the NFL draft, and people were getting very angry because they told us he is absolutely returning to school. Our stance at that time was he has not said that he's returning to school. In fact, he actually tweeted out to say, I have not made a decision. All these rumors are not correct. Now, he very well could return to school. He has not announced that he is going to the NFL draft. However, for all of my Devy people out there, you guys would know the name Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins is the running back that has been absolutely dominant for Ole Miss as a freshman and as a sophomore in the last couple of years. You can make an argument he is one of the best running backs in college football, top 5, if not the best college football and the best running back in college football over the last 2 years combined. Obviously, you can put Bijan there, you can put Gibbs there, right? We're talking about this year and last year combined. Quinshon Judkins announced that he is transferring to Ohio State. Now, I think Ohio State's fans would love a combo of Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins in their backfield. However, I'm not sure it makes business sense for Travion Henderson to share a backfield with Quinshon Judkins, who, with all due respect, I think Judkins is a better prospect than Travion Henderson. That doesn't mean, that's not a slight on Henderson. That's just to say how special Judkins is, or how special at least he's been in his first 2 years. So that leads me to believe that Travion is maybe leaning towards entering the NFL draft. If you're going to be competing with touches or sharing a backfield with Judkins all of this year, is your draft capital really going to improve? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But that would lead us to believe that maybe Henderson, maybe is the key word there, maybe he is deciding to come to the NFL draft. And in this mock draft, we get to see Travion Henderson in the second round. He goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. It is a very, very good landing spot. And the good news for any running back on the Eagles, guys, is we could be seeing a rule change with the brotherly shove, if you will, the tush push. There's a good chance that that play gets outlawed next year. I'm not going to say whether I like it or not. It doesn't really matter. But that could be a great advantage to a running back on the Eagles, because there might be less rushing touchdowns at the 1 yard line for Jalen Hurts. I think someone put a tweet out there, by the way. I think Jalen Hurts, 30% of his fantasy points came from tush pushes. So that's interesting, something to monitor. But Travion Henderson gets drafted to the Eagles there. That's a very exciting landing spot for a very talented player. Reminds me a little bit of Tiki Barber, a little D'Angelo Williams. Some of y'all might not, be able to go all the way back to remembering those guys, but I really love those players. But he is absolutely in a PPR format. Henderson has everything you want. He's got the home run hitting speed. He's got decent vision. He's a great pass catcher, runs really good routes out of the backfield and lined up as a wide receiver. He fits today's fantasy football. So yeah, it's an exciting pick there, Travion Henderson. At the 205, we see one of these players that I really love. I think he's going to be a value. He is a ridiculous athlete. We see Jatavion Sanders coming off the board here at the 209. In this mock draft, Jatavion Sanders actually goes in the first round. He goes to the Bengals in the first round. Now, speaking of the Bengals, by the way, guys, in this mock draft, they took Adonai Mitchell, they took Jatavion Sanders. I'm not sure how many people have seen this report, or this interview rather. A reporter was asking Joe Burrow today, what do you think about the T. Higgins situation? And Joe Burrow said, I'm shortening this quote. You can go check it out on Twitter. I retweeted it. Joe Burrow said, when I made my contract, I made sure that we had structured it so we were able to keep players like T. Higgins. He literally said he expects T. Higgins to be back. So take that with a grain of salt. Joe Burrow thinks T. Higgins is back. In today's world, we are doing this draft assuming that T. Higgins is not back. But again, keep in mind, guys, for future mock drafts, Joe Burrow has publicly stated that he expects T. Higgins back. He has publicly stated that he specifically structured his contract so T. Higgins could be with this team. So if this team wants to keep Joe Burrow happy, it sounds like Joe Burrow has already had conversations with them about keeping T. Higgins. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and find out. But Jatavion Sanders is a very exciting prospect in his own right.
Yeah.
And I'm on the board here.
You're on the board. What are you thinking here? Obviously, sorry, someone came at the door. Trey Benson, Brian Thomas, Travion Henderson, and Jatavion Sanders.
Yep, all off the board.
It gets kind of. I think it gets kind of weak here now, according to this mock draft.
It gets funky. It gets funky, but I'm surprised. Look, I have to do something again.
Here we go.
I'm not sure if I have the strength to do it.
Here we go.
But I think I have to do it. You know, I have said before that I'm not the biggest fan of this player, but I think our community is starting to adapt to how we draft as well. Maybe not. Remember, the first time we did a live mock draft, this player was drafted at the 106. And there were quite a few comments telling us that we had no idea what we were talking about, that this player was a solidified lock to be in the top 8 of a Superflex draft, the top 5 of a one quarterback draft. And since that time, we've seen more and more people sort of adapt to the opinion that maybe he isn't a complete prospect. Maybe,
I'm telling you,
maybe he does struggle as a route runner. Maybe he doesn't get a lot of separation. Now, I've compared this player, which let's just rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to go ahead and take Keon Coleman here. Keon Coleman, the reason I'm drafting him, he went in the first round, so he gets first round draft capital. But more importantly, he gets to play with Patrick Mahomes. He gets to go to Kansas City. They draft a wide receiver in the first round. Keon Coleman heads to Kansas City. And I have said before that I believe Keon's ceiling is what Kenny Golladay gave Matthew Stafford in Detroit. And this kind of makes a lot of sense because you've got a ball slinger. You've got a guy who's not afraid to throw the ball up to you. And you've got a very good contested catcher. In all fairness, the Chiefs need someone who doesn't drop the ball. And Keon, one of his biggest strengths is his drop rate this year, is his strong hands, is his contested catch ability. So maybe he's not the best route runner coming out of the class, but I get to take a first round wide receiver at the 206 and he links up with Patrick Mahomes.
Look,
that
the
seems
narrative
like a steal.
is there.
And I will just say quickly, Badaki, again, whether you like Keon or not, this again speaks to how deep this class is. It is so deep outside of the running back position. It is such a deep class.
Yeah. I would say this. The narrative is there in this world for Keon Coleman going to the Chiefs. He doesn't have to do much. Just catch the ball. Run down the field. Imagine if he runs in... What's he projected? Not projected, but he has, what, low, mid 4.3s? Am I wrong there? Is that what he's projected to kind of run? Or is it high 4.3s?
He's got very, very impressive speed for his size, right? I'm not sure he's running in a fourth. I would say he's probably 4.38 at best, but more realistically, like 4.45, 4.45.
Okay.
But at his size, 4.45 is impressive.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, you have the speed, the size, and all you have to do is catch the ball because Patrick Mahomes is going to put it in the right spot every single time. Be the deep ball threat.
Yeah. There are certain landing spots where Keon Coleman becomes much more attractive if the surrounding cast makes sense, right? Well, I've said this before. You need a Matthew Stafford type of quarterback to kind of place the ball and allow you to overcome the separation issues. You have probably the best quarterback in the NFL throwing you the ball now.
Yeah, I would completely
And
agree.
It's not like this is 2023 where we're all like, well, Travis Kelce's invincible. He's never going to stop being a superhero.
Bro, I'm on the TikTok where I get all these like little clips of Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce saying like, "This is the last show." You know, I don't know if you got that, because everyone thinks both of them are going to retire.
Retirement. We'll see if that's actually going to happen.
Imagine both brothers retire at the same time.
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to say they should have done it last year, but the Eagles and Chiefs do not look like the favorites right now in the playoffs. So
no,
I'm not sure we're going to have the same story as last year.
It's okay.
By the way, just a little update. We are currently just 13 likes away from 100. You guys are awesome. Thanks for the love. We see you in the comments. We're going to do a little Q&A at the very end of this, so keep that in mind. But do us a favor, if you have yet to hit the like button, go ahead and be a friend and smash that thing. 13 likes away from 100. And by the way, our goal is to hit 10K here in the next couple weeks. We're about 123 subs away from 10K. So if you have yet to subscribe, consider doing so. Badaki, you're on the clock here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm looking at the mock draft here. I'm going to go with one of my favorite wide receivers. He does go to an interesting landing spot that I have spoken about before. Xavier Legette out of South Carolina.
Okay.
He goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars with the 48th pick in the NFL draft. Someone that I compare to a DK Metcalf type of build.
Specifically his build, right? I mean, let's just say that
build
from the very beginning. You're not saying
100%.
He's going to be that player. You're just talking about his size.
Yeah, his size, 6'3", 220 plus pounds. 22 plus pounds. He's a big body, tall, lanky wide receiver. He is a late breakout, but in the great hands. He's not going to drop a ball. The speed, the size is all there for someone like an Xavier Legette. And with the narrative that I have here, especially with, Calvin Ridley just wasn't what we expected this year. Now, was that Calvin Ridley's fault? Was that Trevor Lawrence's fault? How do we feel about Trevor Lawrence as well? I think there is still opportunity for Trevor Lawrence to produce fantasy relevant wide receivers. I'm just not sure if Calvin Ridley is going to be on this team any longer, in my personal opinion. If they do pay him, this means if they do give him the contract extension, if I'm not mistaken, they give up a second round pick. And Xavier is that second round pick there. So in this narrative, I'm assuming Calvin Ridley is no longer this team. You have Christian Kirk, Xavier Legette, and obviously Zay Jones. So with Travis Etienne. So a wide receiver 2 type of player, a big threat wide receiver that can come on your team.
Yeah, there was a tweet going around where it was basically all of the almost touchdowns for Trevor Lawrence. If it was college rules, like only 1 foot counted as a touchdown, you didn't have to get 2 feet in. This is not an exaggeration. Trevor Lawrence probably leads the league in passing touchdowns.
But that's the thing. Is that Trevor Lawrence's fault? Or was that Calvin Ridley's fault? Because I feel like there's a mixed emotion there for a lot of people.
I don't think it was any one person's fault because, clearly Calvin Ridley was wide open this last game and Trevor Lawrence missed him on a deep ball for the touchdown to tie the game up, right?
Yeah,
Throughout different games. Remember the Saints game on Thursday night? It was like, Calvin's open. Find Calvin Ridley. It was no one's fault in particular. It was both of their faults, right? They just didn't get on the same page. But I think we'll see the Trevor Lawrence discourse go. It will swing completely to this other side where people are completely out on him. That certainly won't be me, but I know there will be people out there who are just going to be.
It got me questioning. I tell you that much. I saw a graphic where they were comparing Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence's stats for the first 3 years or first 4 years, and that's scary. I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence is as bad as Daniel Jones. The fact that he has the same amount of the same statistical stats in his career so far as Daniel Jones is a concern, but I'm not knocking his talent. That just got me rattled
Keep in mind,
a little bit.
A lot of us forget that he played through injuries most of the second half. Pretty much week 8 onwards, he was not healthy in any given game. And I think I was impressed with his play given that information. But we see Bucky Irving come off the board here. You like Bucky. Where did he go?
I love this pick. He goes to the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
With the last pick in the second round. So he does get the draft capital alongside the Travion Hendersons, alongside the Trey Benson. He is a third, if I'm not mistaken, running back off the board here to a very, very favorable, I would say, not pass catching, but very favorable offense that can get a lot of opportunity. Bucky Irving is a pass catching back. That's exactly what you want. The PPR opportunities that can come in with the screens. They can get him going in the pass game, and that's exactly what you want. The quick, explosive burst that he brings is exciting if he does go to an offense like the Baltimore Ravens.
I do like Bucky Irving. I'm not obsessed with this spot. It's not so much Bucky. It's more, I think Keaton Mitchell scares me a little bit.
Yeah,
Because
I would agree.
I feel like they're both very explosive players. I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but
would get scary.
Keaton scares me a little bit as far as like he could eat heavily into that role.
I would just be really surprised if they draft Bucky and Keaton like takes over, because like
Keaton did have a serious injury as well, so I mean he could.
Keaton
could be over for him.
was undrafted, wasn't he?
Yes.
Undrafted, yeah, an undrafted free agent versus Bucky Irvin, who has second round draft capital. Do you expect that he gets the workload day one?
To be fair, Keaton, if we redid the draft, Keaton wouldn't be undrafted. You know, it's like it's the same thing for Isaiah Pacheco. We probably discounted him too much because of his draft capital. Whereas on the field, it was like, hey, this is a pretty damn good player. Xavier Worthy comes off the board here at the 209. Why was Xavier Worthy so late? Why did he last so long? Well, in today's world, he went to the Philadelphia Eagles in the late second round. It's just difficult to see consistency in opportunity in the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not going to get more targets than A.J. Brown. You're not going to get more targets than Devonta Smith. I don't know that you're going to out-target Dallas Goedert.
Agreed.
So it's just that's probably, we love this prospect. Really not a fan of the landing spot. And I don't personally think he lasts this long in the NFL draft either, though. I don't think he goes outside the top 50.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's somebody that does go top 50. He's gonna. You hope that he goes to an offense that is explosive. It's really exciting to see where he can go. Just not the Philadelphia Eagles. Definitely one of the top worst landing spots for a wide receiver coming into this year. I will say the next couple years.
Yeah.
You don't want any wide receiver going to the Philadelphia Eagles, I'll tell you that much.
All right, at the 210, we have not talked much about this name. That is Quinn Ewers. The reason we haven't talked much about him is because it's my expectation, and I could be wrong, that he returns to college. Now, look, again, like I said, I could be 100% wrong on this. It's just my expectation. On January 15th, we will know exactly who is in the NFL draft and exactly who's returning to school. So very soon, we won't really need to have these hypothetical conversations, but in today's world, he does go to the NFL draft and he joins the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second round with the 55th overall pick. Let's be honest for a second. The Steelers don't have their future quarterback on the roster. Sorry, Kenny Pickett. You're not that guy. You're not that guy, pal.
You're not that guy, pal.
So Quinn Ewers has a chance to step in and have an offense around him, a young offensive line that's getting better. George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, Calvin Austin. That's not a bad situation to step into. We just need some better quarterback play, which we've seen a little bit from Mason Rudolph. But Quinn Ewers comes off the board there at the 210. At one point, guys, Quinn Ewers was the highest graded high school prospect ever.
I remember the hype
ever
of Quentin
when he went to Ohio State. So he's not lived up to that hype, but there is talent there.
Mm-hmm.
At the 211 Badaki, we see Blake Corum come off the board. In
the third round, by the way.
In the third round, who do you land with? The Chargers?
He goes to the Chargers in the third round, the 69th pick.
So hot. I would probably take Corum. Honestly, I'll be honest with you guys. If Keon wasn't on the board, I think I would have taken him at the 206. I would take him over Xavier.
I would have taken him over
Worthy.
Yeah, I would have taken him over Xavier as well. Now looking at it myself. Yeah. Xavier, Bucky, Corum is definitely up there.
You and I have been in on Blake Corum. He's been our RB5 or so. And there is now a narrative that he's the RB1 around the Twitter sphere. I can't go that far personally, but I do think he is a very good running back. He's like one of 5 names that I really think could make an impact for fantasy. It's a great landing spot as well. We're assuming Austin Eckler is going to move on, and Blake Corum, those Chargers have wanted someone to be effective on the ground. They have not found that. Blake Corum, a very high IQ player, great vision, good jump cut. Yeah, he's not the fastest player. He's not got the most ridiculous burst, but he's a well-rounded back. I like that pick there at the 211.
Yeah, I like it as well. Man, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes, because the break tackle ability is kind of phenomenal. And if he lands in a great offensive line, if he lands with Dallas, if imagine just him behind you think of the best offensive line, Dallas, you think of the Eagles, my guy could have crazy upside. But
he could be very, very effective on the right offense.
100% on the right offense.
If you put him in Carolina this year, he probably doesn't look much better than Miles Sanders, respectfully. But you put him in Dallas behind that offensive line, he could have this year done some real damage compared to Tony Pollard. He actually would complement Tony really well too. They have very good complementary games. Anyway, he goes to the Chargers. That's exciting. At the 212, one of our collective favorite players in the entire draft. I can confidently say, Badaki, this is you and I's one of our favorite players in the entire draft.
Yeah,
Jonathan Brooks comes off the board. He did officially announce that he is declaring for the NFL draft. So that's good. The bad news is, if you're drafting Jonathan Brooks, you need to set very healthy expectations. Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL very late into the college football season. I do not personally believe that he will be ready to go for rookie camp, so he'll miss out on that experience. I'm not sure he'll be ready to go by week 1. And even if he is ready to play in 2024, we have to keep in mind that we have to lower expectations. And in 2025 is really when we would expect him to be at full strength, coming off a torn ACL. So this is the long game. You are really, really playing the long game when you drafted Jonathan Brooks. He lands with the Cowboys in the 3rd round. Really exciting landing spot. We love this player. I mean, I was seeing shades of Travis Etienne. I was seeing shades of Penn State's Miles Sanders. I'm a big fan of this player. Super fluid in the open field. Great speed, great burst, athleticism. If healthy, I have no doubts he would be the first running back off the board. Now, you got to play the long game, and this is a great spot to play the long game with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, this landing spot here. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This may sound crazy.
Okay.
Would you take Jonathan Brooks if he goes to the Dallas Cowboys over Trey and Travion?
No, I would not. I would not, because
he was RB1 before he tore his ACL.
People always preach patience, right? In Dynasty, we always preach patience, but no one actually plays that way anymore. Think about it. People are already giving up on Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? I mean, look, Quentin didn't have a good year, but we also didn't expect him to have a good year. And I'm probably giving up on him as well. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, value changes so quickly in season. And you have a chance with Trey Benson and Travion Henderson to get a top 12 Dynasty running back by the end of the 2024 season. Jonathan Brooks his value won't rise. It won't decline. You will just have an asset that you are patiently waiting on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're basically taking a lottery ticket and you're saying, actually, I don't want to find out if I win the lottery this year. I'd like to wait a couple of years. I'd like to grind it out with my team, with my financial situation. I don't want to, yes, I want to win the lottery, but let me wait a couple of years. So I personally wouldn't know.
Yeah. The only reason why I asked is because, we had him as the RB1, I think, collectively before we even knew our own rankings.
Yes.
I think I remember telling you, hey, there's a guy that I love. He's my RB1. And then like a week and a half later, he tears his ACL.
Yeah.
If you think about the timeline, he could be ready week 1.
No.
Now, is he going to be back to form? You think of November. It's in the NFL world is 9 months.
Okay. Look, yeah, I guess he technically could be back.
He could. I'm not saying he should. He will be, and he will be this guy. I think that's what's going to change a lot of things. He lands in the right landing spot. We're going to see the reports that Jonathan Brooks is going to be ready week 1, like we've seen from Breece Hall, like we've seen from Saquon Barkley. He's going to rise.
Yeah, Brees
Like,
Hall is going to set some very unhealthy expectations for people
100%.
when it comes to recovering from an ACL injury.
So, like, I just know that I think his value actually will rise. It's not going to just plateau as we get closer and closer. I think he's going to get, depending on the landing spot and maybe the draft capital, I can see him being this guy that we're going to take chances in not only in Dynasty, but in redrafts in the middle of the 5th, 6th round, saying, yo, Jonathan Brooks has the opportunity to be fantasy relevant year one.
He's a player we love. I don't think he'll be ready week 1. The difficult part as well, guys, is these rookies, rookie camp is so important for these guys. Getting into the building, creating some chemistry with your teammates, both on the field and off the field. It's no matter how we stack it up, it's going to be a huge disadvantage for him to be recovering from an ACL. I mean, remember, it wasn't the same timeline, but Jameson Williams as well was recovering from that ACL. And he wasn't the same player. He really hasn't been the same player until just recently. He started to really look like his old self at Alabama. So you can look at one side of the spectrum and say, well, Adrian Peterson did it and Brees Hall just did it. You can look at the other side of the spectrum and say, well, actually, here's a list of 15 guys who were not the same the year before, the year after they tore their ACL.
Oh yeah, I was preaching.
Come back.
I was preaching all year long. I'm not trusting in Brees Hall whatsoever. My guy finished as a top 5 running back this year. But a lot of his production, not a lot of his production, because week 1 he had like over 100 yards. Remember on the Sunday night game, on the Monday night game. But he got crazy PPR opportunities in the last like 4 or 5 games of the season. Yeah. So look, anything can happen. I guess my thought process and my notion here for Jonathan Brooks is that I don't think he's going to plateau in value. I think if anything, he's going to rise when reports come out, depending on his draft capital and landing spot.
Yeah, it's a good news if you like the player because you will be able to get him cheap. But I don't personally believe he will be contributing to any championships in 2024 on Dynasty rosters. So we'll have to wait and see. At the 3-1, we will see Ladd McConkey come off the board. Y'all know I love me some Ladd McConkey. He went to the Lions in the 2nd round. Why do people who make mock drafts torture us like this? What part of Ladd McConkey on the Lions should get me excited? What part about any of these prospects on the Lions should get me excited? Amon-Ra St. Brown's there. Sam Laporta is there. Jameson Williams is starting to step into his own. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, who will probably lead the league in targets next year. I love Ladd, the space creator, as Trent points out, but this landing spot sucks. Stop doing this, mock draft people.
It's not ideal, but I mean, the way to talk it up is maybe the Josh Reynolds little hiatus we had. If Amon-Ra goes down or Jameson Williams is not the guy, maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel there for Ladd McConkey. Just trying to play opposite of devil's advocate, whatever that is.
Well, you are playing devil's advocate, yeah.
I'm saying the opposite. Yeah, I guess I am playing devil's advocate, but in the bright side, anything can happen.
You're being an angel instead of a devil.
I'm being an angel advocate.
All right, we guys, we are gonna quick fire through this 3rd and 4th round. Okay. Actually, me and Badaki will do the 4th maybe, but for the 3rd round, let's quick fire through these picks. Keep taking a kicker and drafting. So we'll quick fire through this. We won't go as much depth on these 3rd round picks. But the 302, he just declared today one of 3 wide receivers out of Washington that I think could be very good NFL wide receivers. Jalen Polk comes off the board here at the 302. Yeah. He goes to the Jets. In our rookie report, I have comped him a lot to Romeo Doubs and Zay Jones. That's not to disrespect him. I just think he's I just think he's a very good player, but probably not a star. But he joins the Jets. I think it makes sense. They need a number 2. He can serve as a number 2 for them. They need a reliable option. So Jalen Polk comes off the board there at the 302.
Yeah, don't mind Jalen Polk there. I mean, we've seen some glimpses of him in the college football playoffs.
Had a good year, to be fair.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. I think he has to find the right system without a doubt there for him to really take it to the next level. But
all right,
he can definitely be a
so
rising.
let's see what happens at the 303 and the 304. Go ahead and put your picks in, guys, if you're drafting with us. It's a little bit hard to keep up with this mock draft, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Quinn Ewers was already selected?
Yeah. Once it gets to the third
we
round,
might go ahead and make the
difficult.
pick ourselves here in a sec, just to get the mock draft rolling. But I'm looking through it right now, and I'm trying to figure out what my next pick is, honestly.
I have a couple people here.
Yeah, same.
Not terrible in the 4th round.
Just seeing if there's any second rounders that were missed. Oh wow!
Couple scenarios.
How is this guy still available?
Careful.
Wow. Okay, let's see what happens here. Let's just keep drafting kickers. All right, I might make a pick for NPC here, unless we get an entry here in the next couple seconds.
He's riding right now, so.
Okay, there you go. So, I am a little shocked that Tez Walker is still on the board. So he gets drafted here at the 303. That is a great pick. Now, Badaki, some people have Tez Walker as like their wide receiver 4 in the class. I can't currently get there, but I really do like this player. He's a very, very exciting player whose draft capital could probably only rise from athletic testing. I think he's going to test really, really well. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, out of Carolina, was Drake May's #1 option. He's a big play threat, down the field guy. He had an ADOT of 19.1 this year. He's got great long run speed. My comp for him, which is not perfect, is a little Christian Watson, Mike Williams, somewhere in between those players is I think where you're getting a player like Tez Walker. Really fluid mover in the open field. He is a project route runner and he's a limited yak threat. But this is a player that a lot of people in the industry really, really like. And he went in the 2nd round to the Browns. And we've talked about the Browns before as like a low-key, sneaky spot for a receiver because Elijah Moore didn't establish himself. Amari Cooper is just getting up there in age. He's still playing at an elite level. But it's a nice little spot there for Tez Walker.
Yeah, I don't mind this landing spot. Someone that can come in and take an opportunity. I have to wait and see. I think I'm a little bit scarred from what happened last year with Jonathan Mingo because I think he's going down the Jonathan Mingo hype train so far this offseason. I'm not saying that he is going to be Jonathan Mingo or the same talent. I think the pathway of reports and hype and acknowledgement is the same thing that Jonathan Mingo went through. Because we've seen Jonathan Mingo, everyone talking him up. He did decent in the combine. We've seen some incredible catches from him. I feel like the timeline and everything is the same for Tez Walker. We'll wait and see.
I can hear the concern. What I will say is I think they're very different prospects. And
Agreed.
I think you would agree with that. And I wasn't really understanding the Mingo hype. Now, I drafted some Mingo, but I wasn't really understanding people being so in love with the player. I can kind of see why people like Tez. Now, like I said, a lot of people out there have him as a wide receiver 4. I just can't go that high, but I do like this player. Brendan Rice comes off the board next. I am not a huge fan of Brendan Rice. This is Jerry Rice's son. Where did he go in the draft, though?
I think he went in the 4th round. I think I saw him going to the Bears. Okay. Let me find out for you.
Yes, he went to the Bears in the 4th round. So, to be fair, he does link up with Caleb Williams. He was a great improvising option for Caleb Williams. That's what I noticed watching the film. Anytime Caleb would kind of scramble out of the pocket or extend a play, you could see there was like this mind meld between him and Caleb. When a play broke down, you know, Brendan was always trying to give him an option as a play was extended. I think he's a little bit of a limited athlete, but I do love the landing spot now that I see.
He went the third round,
yeah.
By the way. Okay, so Brendan Rice goes off the board. Daniel Macy.
Jalen McMillan sniped right before my pick. You guys know I love me some Jalen McMillan. Wait a second. I put those in opposite order. Okay, so Jalen McMillan actually went, my bad. Jalen McMillan went the pick before. Brendan Rice was right before my pick.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So we'll swap him around. But yeah, Jalen McMillan, one of your guys that you love coming out of Washington.
He goes to the Cardinals in the fourth round. Not a bad landing spot. I think he could absolutely develop a role there. I think he would complement Marvin Harrison Jr. really well. This assumes that Hollywood Brown's gone. So now you got a wide receiver core of Marvin, of Trey McBride, and of Jalen McMillan. I think he would fit that role really, really well.
A complimentary wide receiver there with Marvin Harrison. I would agree. He can definitely sneak in.
I am on the board. And look, I keep having to make picks of players that I'm not very high on compared to consensus. But people keep making me make these picks is how I feel. Like, I keep getting to the point of the draft where I'm like, all right, y'all know we don't like these players, but no one's drafting them. And I think I have to be the one to draft them. So in the second round, it was Keon Coleman. And in the third round at the 306, this is where I'm going to be taking Braylon Allen. You know,
where I was going
a lot of people have Braylon Allen as their RB1. We get a lot of comments on our videos of people telling us that we're idiots because we don't have him as our RB1 and we're not absolutely obsessed with him like a lot of people are. But then we're in live streams and he's available at the 307. So I'll take him there. He goes to the Bengals with in the fourth round. And this to me probably means that Joe Mixon, they're moving on from Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon would have to be a cap casualty if they want to sign Joe Mixon or T. Higgins. So
yeah, I would agree.
While I do think Braylon Allen is a very limited athlete, he's very limited in the open space, and that's what the NFL is really thriving on right now is athletes in the open space. He is going to join a great offense with Joe Burrow. There will be plenty of touchdown opportunities, and I think he complements Chase Brown really well, actually. So I'll take him there at the 306. I'm surprised with how many people love him that he fell this far.
That was going to be my pick, and now I'm scrambling to find somebody.
A little bit scrambled eggs, are we?
Did not expect you to take him.
Oh, one of your favorite players is still on the board, though. In the fourth round.
In the fourth round? Okay, let's see. I'm in the fourth round here. One of my favorite players. I'm looking. Okay, yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Malachi Corley.
Yep.
Going in the fourth round, going to the Green Bay Packers with 120th pick. I'll take Malachi Corley here. Look, he does get kind of lost in this offense, but the yards after the catch is what's exciting. You know, does he take over the Romeo Doubs type of opportunity? Not Romeo Doubs, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit jumbled here. Dontavion Wicks, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. Where does he really fit in this offense?
Not exactly a clear pathway.
It's not, but if one of those guys goes down, which we've seen Christian Watson struggle, we've seen Jaden Reed miss a couple games, we've seen Romeo Doubs miss a couple games, who've all struggled with injury. Maybe Malachi Corley can step in and maybe solidify an opportunity, but do like Malachi.
Jacob Coing, the kid out of Arizona, goes next. He went to the Broncos, I believe, in the third round of this mock draft. I think look, I wasn't very big on Marvin Mims. I just thought Marvin Mims was a complimentary piece at best. And I kind of feel the same way about Jacob Coing. I do think Mims is a better prospect. And look, maybe Mims steps up with a new quarterback and maybe no Jerry Jeudy on the roster next year. But Jacob Cohen does get pretty good draft capital here, and he's going to join a wide receiver room that's pretty wide open. So he has a chance to kind of develop a role there. Styles is on the clock. Let's get through these last ones. Let's quick fire. You guys just tell us in the chat who you want, and we'll make this all happen. So.
Sorry, someone at the door again. Was that it?
No, Jacob Cohen just went off the board. We're going to try and quick fire these last 4. I'm not sure if Styles is with us or not. He actually he was in the chat, so maybe he is with us.
He was in the chat.
But yeah, Jacob Cohen off the board.
Probably looking at the draft. Probably doing.
Yeah, it is a little bit difficult at this point to find a player that you really, really love. But Cohen, by the way, 22 years old. He'll be 23 at the draft. 5'11", 175 pounds. I do believe he'll play primarily out of the slot. When I looked at pro comps, I do see a little bit of Hunter Renfrow, Braxton Berrios, Kyle Phillips type of player. Shifty slot guy. I think he'll be a really good asset in a wide receiver room. I'm just not sure he's going to be like a star, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, someone that I haven't got to scouting yet. Some players here. Jacob is definitely one of them. So I would have to do a little bit more research on him.
All right, we are going to make the pick for Styles because I don't think he is with us. So looking at the draft board, let's see who would make sense to go off the board next.
There's a fourth round here. I can see a couple tight ends. Tajay Washington goes to the Chiefs. I don't know if that's exciting. We also have Malik Washington to the Saints. We have
let's give him Donnie Edwards. Yeah, let's talk about Donnie. Donovan Edwards. He goes to the Bills. Now the tough part is Donovan Edwards is not a better player than James Cook, and he ideally would play a similar role to James Cook.
He could be the bigger back though, which not really. I mean, 6 foot 204.
Yeah, he's not really like a big,
not really
body
that big
type
though,
of option. But what I would say is Donovan Edwards was one of these running backs that I really genuinely loved heading into the 2023 college football season. And there is not a player that disappointed me more this year than Donovan Edwards. In fact, if you look at his regular season statistics and analytics, you can make an argument he was the least efficient running back in all of college football. You can make an argument that he was the worst running back in all of college football. And I'm saying that as someone who loves this player. But then in the national championship, out of nowhere, the guy looks like his 2022 self. So we'll see if he declares. We'll see how much stock people put into that national championship game. At the 310, we see Jaheim Bell come off the board. That is the tight end out of South Carolina, I believe. So he comes off the board there. Then we see Spencer Rattler at the 311. Where did he go?
Oh, no. He goes to the Giants.
Okay, so you get your future quarterback.
No, I'd rather stick with Tommy Cutlets.
Spencer Rattler is running New York. And then at the 312, we get Audric Estime, who I believe went to the Patriots. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him there. This is a player that you and I have been lower on than consensus. In fact, I've been a little bit confused as to why people love him so much. Now here, by the way, at 312, I think this makes a ton of sense. But we've got people who have him like
top 5, no?
Top 5, early second round in Superflex leagues. I don't personally really understand that hype. He put up a lot of production, but he seems like more of a player suited for the collegiate level rather than the NFL. He's just a very limited athlete. But
physical back there, strong body.
That is going to be it for today, guys. We're not going to do the 4th round. Just for the sake of time. But we do want to take a second, and we want to leave about 5 minutes for a Q&A. So if you guys have some questions, We'll leave 5 minutes on the clock here to answer those questions. So throw out any Q&As. And again, we'll take
exciting.
5 minutes before we go and have some lunch over here.
I'm starving. Dynasty cute. Ooh. I'm ready for the draft.
Oh, same.
I hate the lingering feeling now, which is gonna feel like forever.
Dude, I will aggressively consume draft content for the next 4 months. Like I think every day of my life I will watch draft content from here until
100%.
the end of April.
I've already been seeing so many content of players saying that Washington. There's mock draft that Washington and the Bears flip.
Yeah,
switch. So you go to Caleb, and then the Bears go Marlon.
Here's the thing. I do not want to go from 2 to 1 and send a future first-round pick. Now, if you want your second-round pick back that we got for Montez Sweat, sure, let's do that deal. But I'm not trying to send like multiple first-round picks to move up one. I'd rather just sit and take Drake May or Jaden Daniels, whoever they prefer. But, all right, we got some questions. Trent says, let's say Marvin Harrison Jr. does not declare. Does Malik jump to number 2? He obviously is my clear-cut number 1 if Marvin's not there. Mm-hmm. But I think he's, and this is how I felt since we started this process, I think he's in the same tier as Drake May and Jaden Daniels, regardless of if Marvin declares or not, personally.
Let me ask you this. Does he still go top 5? Marvin Harris is guaranteed top 5. Do you think someone like the Cardinals, the Patriots, even does Malik go there still?
Yes, he doesn't get out of the top 10. I think top 5 is very realistic.
Okay, I think he would be outside the top 5. I think they would pivot to. I would think those teams will pivot to offensive linemen like the Patriots or the Cardinals. But I think Marvin Harrison is too of in once again, we've been saying this, generational talent.
All right, Macy says, Zach and Badaki, I have the 102 in an upcoming rookie draft and need a quarterback. Would it be crazy to take Daniels over May? Well, Daniel Macy, you are talking to the right person because everyone has had Drake May as their consensus, unquestioned quarterback 2 from the beginning, and I personally have not felt that way. It's not to discredit Drake May. It's to put the respect on Jaden Daniels, who I believe was the best player in college football this year, who took massive strides in his game from each year, from Arizona State to LSU, from 2022 to 2023. So you're talking to the right guy because in my rankings, they are actually my 2A and 2B. I do not personally think that there's a tier difference between these names, and that has been how I've felt from day one. So I don't personally think it is crazy to consider Jaden Daniels over Drake May. I'm not saying I would 100% do it. We'll have to wait and see where these guys land. But when you're talking about a fantasy quarterback, I've comped Drake May to Justin Herbert as his ceiling, Jaden Daniels to RG3, Jalen Hurts as his ceiling, and both of those are very, very exciting fantasy quarterbacks. So I believe that both of them will have very good draft capital. I think they'll both go top 5, top 10. And I think it will be a conversation we'll have all offseason.
Yeah, 100%. At this moment, I do have Drake May over. And let's just say we're going based off of this world that we have, the Commanders to Drake May, or Drake May to the Commanders, Jaden Daniels to New England. I would go Commanders and I still have them 2nd overall. And I made that mistake last year when I love the team around Bryce Young more. Miles Sanders, John Domingo, Adam Thielen, all these players, and I pivot off of the team and head coaching based off of the talent that I had. So I'm still going to stick with Drake May and the talent no matter where he goes, unless something changes for me.
No, I can definitely understand that. Tommel says, do you think Shipley has 3rd down back potential? Yeah, Shipley's one of those names where we haven't really understood why people love him. He's not a player we're excited about. I think if you're asking, could he be a 3rd down back, as in play on 3rd downs? Yeah, he's a good pass catcher. But if the question is, can he be a 3 down back? Then no. But I think his question is, can he play on 3rd downs? I think so. but it's never a good sign when you lose your own job and you're heading to the NFL draft. Like, he lost his job at Clemson this year.
I would say this, and I put this in our scouting report. I see him as best as a special teams player, someone that returns kicks. Maybe he plays on the special teams. Like I said, special teams player. I don't see him as a starting running back in the NFL personally.
I couldn't go that far as only special teams. I think he does play a role, but I don't think he's ever like a very important fantasy running back, is what I would say. I think he probably goes like 5th, 6th, 7th round of the NFL draft. Tyler says, would you trade Jetta for the 103, 106, and the 25 first? In a Superflex league.
106?
In most years, I would say no, and I wouldn't even think about it. This year's a little bit different because of how damn good it is.
Who went at the 103 and the 106 here?
So you could get a Jaden Daniels and a Roma Dunze potentially.
Roma Dunze. I mean, that's interesting. I think this is what I would say. I think for someone like a Justin Jefferson at this very moment, I'm not trading away at all until I know who that quarterback is. If I feel like that quarterback is not going to come in and elevate Justin Jefferson in any way, or I feel like Justin Jefferson's upside is capped, like we've seen with Garrett Wilson when Aaron Rodgers went down, we were expecting 25, 24 plus points. It felt like every week before the NFL season started. And then he got essentially demoted to that 14, 15, 16 point type of game. Does that happen with Justin Jefferson? I don't know. Just depends on the quarterback.
I will say this. I love this class. If this class pans out the way I think it could, I think you would potentially win this deal if you ended up with, let's say you got like a Malik Neighbors and a Jaden Daniels or something like that. I think you might win that trade. And then who knows what happens in the 2025 first round for you. But we have to keep in mind that players don't always pan out. We love these players, but they don't always pan out. You have a surefire Hall of Fame wide receiver on your roster. You have to decide if you're willing to take that risk. I would go out on a limb and say you might be able to get more. But that is a very good question. And I'm not sure I can answer it very well at this moment. Sparrow says, do I DM you on Discord to access the trade review and team review? So that's a great question. Let's let people know how they can get their team reviewed on Sunday night when we start doing those team reviews. So
it might be a bit difficult, by the way. I was thinking playoffs is that on the Sunday. Anyways,
well, we're going to start doing those next week. We'll figure out exactly what day. But
yeah,
if you guys want to get your team reviewed by us on a live stream, it's actually very, very simple. All you need to do is sign up with our promo code LAND and sign up to the Mother Flocker tier. I will go ahead and put a little QR code on the screen for you now in case you want to get a direct link to sign up. But when you have signed up, you go here on your name, you'll click account. There will be a way for you to link your Discord. Once you have linked your Discord, you will unlock the entire Discord we have here over on the Flock Fantasy Discord channel. So you'll see you guys won't be able to see these creator chats or whatever, but you'll be able to see Flock's chats, Mason's Flock, and then right under Fantasyland, if you are a Mother Flocker member, you will have the Dynasty Best Ball, the mock drafts, the roster submissions tab, the Fantasy Hotline, the Dynasty Trades channel, where this is where we take the trades for our Dynasty show or our trade show each week. All that will be unlocked for you. And if you do sign up, over here where it says Fantasyland Hotline Setup, all you need to do is just say, hey, I signed up. I'd like to get all set up. I'd like to get my hotline set up. And then when you have linked to your Discord, you will have this roster submissions tab unlocked. And you can see we have one waiting here for us now that we'll look at. And that is how, follow this information is how you get your team reviewed. It's also how we can know which account to message so you can get your fantasy hotline set up. But again, guys, we have what we believe is the best product. Like I can honestly say without any doubt, this is the best product we have ever been able to offer you guys. Not only are you supporting this show, you're supporting us, but you're getting one hell of a product in return. If you use the promo code LAND and you sign up to the Mother Flocker tier over on the Flock Fantasy website, you will access all the posts from every creator. You will also be able to access our 2024 Dynasty Rookie Report, right? You can see that entire package over there. You can download the PDF if you like. And this is just V1. Version 2 will be available at the beginning of February. On the 1st of February, V2 will be released, and there will be new versions every single month heading up to the NFL draft. Not only will you unlock that, you'll unlock rankings on the website for super flex for one quarterback. You can access our individual rankings if you'd like. You can access the trade calculator. Let's say you have one of these crazy teams that has 30 bench spots. You start 4 wide receivers, you start 1 running back, and you have 5 flex spots. Well, all that will be taken into consideration when you use our trade calculator. It is the most advanced calculator in the industry. It's consistently improving. And let's say you have a player. Let's say you have Jaden Reed, and you're just curious, hey, what sort of trades have gone down for Jaden Reed recently? Well, with our calculator, when you have access to it, we actually are pulling data from the Sleeper database. You can see real trades for these players and how long ago they've happened in case you want to spark some ideas in your league. You get access to the calculator. You get access to our package that we just talked about. You get access to the fantasy hotline. All that is available to people who sign up, again, with the code LAND over on the Flock Fantasy website. It's a great resource. I have no doubt that you're getting bang for your buck. So that is how you set all that up. And we'd be happy to answer any questions as well if people have questions on that. But let's get through these last questions here. Major Tutty says, I have picks 101 and 103. Who do I take? I mean, look, that's a question
that's all depends on what's gonna happen at the NFL draft, bro. That's way too early.
Yeah.
And what your team needs as well. You know, like, are you gonna draft best player available or team needs?
For me, it would be best player available, which would be Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., or Jaden Daniels. One of those names.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad one.
Tunchi says, what 2024 pick would you need? Would you trade Judy for? The best I could get was a 210 and a 4th.
I'm not trading him away for that, personally.
I would be pretty open to it.
I still believe. I think we are two different sides of the coin here when it comes down to Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
I think the talent's still there. He's just been really hindered with quarterback play. I know Russell Wilson last year was really bad, but this year specifically definitely excelled and did better. But didn't really aim or target Jerry Jeudy. So does he go to a team where he gets 6-7 targets a game that is consistent? I think that changes, because that's what we were expecting for Jerry Jeudy all along. He just didn't get that throughout the season so far in his Broncos career. And it looks like the Broncos are going to do a massive sweep of the talent there, it feels like. And Jerry Jeudy, for the past 2 years, has been on the chopping block, on the trade block specifically. So if he goes to somewhere like the Chiefs, like the Bills or anything, that can change.
Yeah.
That changed my perspective on Jerry Jeudy.
I do
personally
think you should be able to get more than the 210, but I'm very open to trading Jerry Jeudy. With respect to him, I really liked him before the year, but I feel like it should have happened by now. I'm running out of excuses for the player, is what I'm trying to say, you know.
That's fair.
So if you can get like the 206 to the 208, I'd be very open to it. Try and get in that 203 to 207 range.
Yeah, I think I would flip it for a player instead of a pick if you could.
Okay. I want second rounds personally. A Noble says, thoughts on Will Shipley or Dylan Johnson, and where did they land in the mock that you were looking at? So Shipley went in the 4th or 3rd. He went in the 3rd to the Niners.
I don't think Dylan got drafted.
That would bury him. I don't think Dylan got drafted. I do think Dylan Johnson could be drafted. He's not a player that I really love, to be honest. But I need to scout him a little bit more. I think he's a fine player, but for me, neither of those guys really stand out as impact NFL players.
Yeah, I would agree.
What's the least you would accept for Trevor Lawrence? I'm notoriously known for not trading players low. Sometimes it puts me in a bad spot where I hold on to a player that I like too long. But it's my personal opinion that I'm not willing to trade Trevor Lawrence at his current price. I don't think he's valued properly. So I personally don't believe I would be trading him away. I do think there's better ahead for him. Again, I mean, if you go look at the amount of 1-foot touchdowns he had this year, he was so close to having a huge year. So yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's a good time to trade him away personally.
Yeah, look, it's not a good time, but I think one thing that I'm going to be looking into Trevor Lawrence is like, personally, I think he falls down the ranking significantly, not based on just based on his performance and how everyone else has been performing in the quarterbacks that are coming in. You think of the Brock Purdy's, the Tua's, the CJ Strouds who played really well, and you have 3 quote unquote elite quarterbacks coming in. That kind of pushes Trevor Lawrence down the draft board just based off of how crowded it is.
I'd be willing to, like, if I can get the 102 and 103 and something on top, like let's say I can get the 102, 103 and a future first, I would totally be willing to do that and just take a shot
Trevor Lawrence
on May or Daniels, yeah, and just get that extra first. But
gosh, I personally wouldn't pay 2 firsts for Trevor Lawrence.
That's exactly
right now.
what I'm saying. I think he's worth it, so that's why I wouldn't sell him. But
Right.
I'm saying if that deal is out there, hey, this 25 first is projected to be late, and I'll give you the 103, then I'd be willing to take that kind of deal. But again, I think people are going to be lowballing you. I think they're going to send you like the 107. And
in our community right now, on our fantasy site, he is QB9. Now, how accurate is that?
I see QB10.
QB11, excuse me.
I'm seeing QB10 on the trade calculator over here.
Okay, maybe that's wrong. On the front page, it says QB11.
Okay.
But I mean, even then, like, you think of QB10 and then think of the 3 quarterbacks that are coming in.
Okay, let's see what the community says about the 103. So the community says the 103 is a fair trade straight up. The 103, Trevor Lawrence, fair trade straight up. Yeah, I think I would just want a little bit more.
Wow, I'm really interested to see what's the difference there. Keep trade cut on the 103 says the 103 is more favorable. that's their community and this is our community, so yeah. It's a little bit different. Very interesting with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, tough call there. Will Dunze or Bowers be available at the 106? Yes, they should.
Definitely could be. Yeah.
T-Bag says, what do you think is an underrated pick in round 3 to 5 like Puka Nacua and Nico Collins has been in the last 2 seasons? Of like the NFL draft. I've been thinking about that. And at first it was Jalen McMillan because no one really loved him, but I think he's going to go higher than that now. Jalen McMillan, Jermaine Burton really comes to mind for me.
I think for me it would be the running backs. It would be the Marshawn Lloyds, the Braylon Allens, the Bucky Irvings. But I guess you're talking about wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I will probably agree there with you.
Yeah.
Maybe Xavier Legette. Maybe he goes in the 3rd if he falls. I don't know. Malachi Corley. I doubt he goes in the 4th though.
All right, let's quick fire through the rest of these. Ryan says, "What you guys doing with Hollywood and a 1 quarterback?" Hollywood's a hold for me because
agreed.
He's a free agent, and a lot of teams need wide receivers. And maybe he stays. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Mr. Tom says, should I try and flip Calvin or hold him for another season? Calvin is another name I would personally hold. I think I think the general consensus on Calvin is that people don't like him, and I understand. He obviously did not meet expectations this year. I would completely agree with that. But you have a player who I think is still playing at a very high level, who is a free agent. At worst, he comes back with Trevor Lawrence and they run it back. At best, what if he ends up in Kansas City? What if he ends up, the Bengals don't want to pay T. Higgins, but they decide to pay, Calvin Ridley on a cheaper deal? There's so many scenarios that you could point to. What if he ends up with the Patriots and the Patriots get Drake May? Point to all these different situations that could happen. I would rather roll the dice, than get back a late second for him right now, which is what I think you'd get.
Yeah, I would. I think it just depends on the price that you can get back. If you can get a second and you're telling me a mid to late, I would be interested in Calvin Ridley, but just all depends on where he goes as well. It's going to be a big one.
George Pickens, would love to see him a full year without Deontay Johnson, or even just a full year with competent quarterback play. Y'all know I love the player, just the situation's tough. So hard to say. I think he could really excel. Jack says Justin Herbert for the 104 and 109. I'll take Justin Herbert.
Agreed.
Keenan and the 203 or the 105. I'll take the 105.
Agreed.
Thoughts on Kyle Pitts? Definitely a buy. I'm hoping. I mean, look, if Kirk, it's just a rumor, but if a quarterback like Kirk Cousins joined Atlanta, it would be too late to buy Kyle Pitts at that point, knowing what he can do for a tight end.
Yeah, I would agree. A lot of the Falcons players are buys, but I don't think anyone's going to be wanting to sell Falcons players after Arthur Smith. Now that Arthur Smith is gone.
JCM says, Winston says A.T. Perry for Kyle Pitts. I'd rather have Kyle Pitts.
Agreed.
Let's see. Yeah, Freak says I'd want a late first on top of the 103 for Trevor Lawrence. That's kind of how I feel. We just did one. Unicorn says I have the top 5 picks taking Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Neighbors. Would you guys take Daniels as a backup quarterback or Odunze as a starter? I actually already answered this. I replied to this in a comment earlier today, Unicorn. So hopefully you saw that reply, but I feel like it's a long-winded answer. We're trying to save time here because we've already been live for 2 hours. But I did already reply in the comment section, so hopefully you were able to see that. I think it was you who asked that question. Love the show. I wish I could sub to Flock Fantasy, just not in the budget, so I'll do whatever I can to support. I appreciate that, man.
All love, man. We appreciate you.
Last question for today is Master Nader. He says Justin Herbert, Quentin Johnston for the 103-107. I'd rather have Justin Herbert. It has nothing to do with Quentin Johnston.
Yeah. I think it's just Quentin Johnston and Justin Herbert for the one. Yeah, I'll take Justin Herbert still.
Yeah. That's it for today, guys. We appreciate you. We do have a lot of content to make, so hopefully you guys can understand that we got it in the stream here, but we appreciate all the love, all the support. That's it for today. We do have another video on the channel, so go check that out. But that's it for today. We appreciate y'all. Hey, whoever you got in your life, show them some love today. All right. Maybe you see your mom today, your brother, your sister, your dad, or tell them you love them. Okay. Let's make this day something special. Okay. You go into bed, say, hey mom, I just want you to know I appreciate you. Or maybe you got a girlfriend or a wife or kids. Hey, I just want you to know I'm proud of you. Do something nice for your people today. And we love you. We'll see you soon. All love.
Love.